Hey everyone, welcome back to the Deep Dive. Before we get started today, just a quick reminder to like this episode, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future deep dives. Now today, we're going somewhere pretty incredible.
Yeah.
You might want to grab a jacket though, because we're headed to the tundra.
You got that right. It's definitely not shorts and t-shirt weather where we're going.
So get ready for some seriously frigid temps, winds that'll knock you off your feet, and a landscape that might seem a little, well, barren at first glance. But trust me, looks can be deceiving. Beneath that frozen surface lies a hidden world of resilience and adaptation that's just begging to be explored.
It's true. The tundra is often overlooked, but it's really important for the whole planet. And to be honest, it's just plain cool.
Absolutely. Whether you're studying for the UPSC, a student, or just someone who loves learning about our planet, this deep dive into the tundra has something for you. So let's start with the basics. What exactly is a tundra?
Okay, so imagine a vast, treeless expanse that stretches as far as the eye can see.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Now, picture the ground frozen solid for most of the year, like it completely locked under a layer of permafrost.
Permafrost, that sounds intense.
It is. And then add in some seriously strong winds and very little rainfall. Temperatures can plunge to unbelievably low levels. It's a truly extreme environment, and you mostly find it in polar regions or way up high in mountains.
Speaking of permafrost, I remember reading that it can be incredibly deep. Just how far down does that frozen layer go?
We're not talking about a little frost on the pumpkin here. Permafrost can go down hundreds of meters. Like, think about a layer of freezing ground as tall as a skyscraper. That's permafrost.
Wow, that's both incredible and kind of terrifying. Okay, so we've got freezing temperatures, crazy winds, and ground that's basically a giant ice cube for most of the year. It's hard to believe that anything could survive there. How does anything live in this frozen desert?
That's the cool part about the tundra. Life finds a way, right? We're talking about some serious evolutionary adaptations, like a masterclass in survival.
All right, I'm hooked. Tell me more about these adaptations.
Let's start with plants. The growing season in the tundra is insanely short, only 50 to 60 days, so plants have to be quick. They've evolved to take full advantage of that brief summer.
Makes sense. It's like a sprint to the finish line.
Exactly. A lot of tundra plants stay low to the ground, almost hugging the earth for warmth. And you'll find them growing in clusters, kind of huddling together for extra insulation from that brutal wind.
So it's all about making the most of those limited resources.
Yeah.
What about the animals? How do they deal with that kind of cold?
You're not going to see any lizards sunbathing up there, that's for sure. Animals in the tundra have some amazing tricks up their sleeves, so to speak. Many of them have thick fur coats or layers of blubber for insulation.
Like polar bears. Their thick fur is iconic.
Right. Polar bears are a perfect example. And don't forget about their extra fat reserves. Then there are the behavioral adaptations, things like hibernation. Some animals, like the Arctic ground squirrel, basically check out for the winter, curling up in a nice cozy burrow until things warm up.
Smart move. Conserving energy and avoiding the wind seems like the way to go in the tundra.
Absolutely. And we can't forget about migration. Caribou, for example, they undertake these epic journeys across huge distances to find food and better conditions. It's a testament to how tough and resilient these creatures are.
Okay, so we've been talking about the tundra as one thing, but I have a feeling it's a little more complicated than that. Are there different types of tundra?
You're right. It's not just one big homogeneous thing. We can actually break down tundra ecosystems into three main types.
Three types.
Yeah. Arctic, Alpine, and Antarctic.
Okay, let's unpack those a bit. Starting with Arctic tundra, where do we find this and what makes it stand out?
The Arctic tundra is probably what comes to mind when most people think of tundra. It's up in the northern hemisphere, forming a continuous belt below the polar ice cap. Think Alaska, Canada, Siberia. It's vast, open, and dominated by low-lying vegetation like mosses, lichens, and some really hardy shrubs.
And home to polar bears, right?
Of course, polar bears, caribou, musk oxen. The Arctic tundra's got it all.
Sounds amazing. Okay, then what about alpine tundra? Where does this type exist and how's it different from the Arctic tundra?
Alpine tundra is found high up in mountains. Think the Himalayas, the Alps, the Andes.
Okay.
Now, it shares some similarities with Arctic tundra, like the lack of trees and the extreme cold. But there's a key difference.
What's that?
No permafrost. The soil in alpine tundra drains better.
Interesting. So I'm guessing that means a whole different set of animals and plants live there.
Bingo. Instead of polar bears and caribou, you'll find pikas, marmots, and mountain goats. And the plant life is a bit more diverse, with grasses and flowering plants adding some color to the rocky landscape.
And last but not least, we have the Antarctic tundra. Where's this one located and what makes it special?
Now, the Antarctic tundra is kind of a unique case. It's way smaller compared to the Arctic and Alpine tundra. You'll mainly find it on the Antarctic Peninsula and some scattered islands in the Southern Ocean. Conditions there are truly extreme, even for a tundra.
Wow, even more extreme. What kind of life can survive there?
You won't find any big land mammals roaming around,
Yeah.
but you will find lots of mosses, lichens, and even some algae. And of course, you've got your classic Antarctic wildlife like penguins, seals, and tons of seabirds.
Right, penguins. It makes sense that they'd be there. So each type of tundra has its own unique flavor, you could say.
Absolutely.
But no matter where you go in the tundra, you're bound to find something amazing. Speaking of amazing, our source material mentions a winter kill phenomenon. What's that all about?
Ah, yes. Winter kill is a pretty stark reminder of just how delicate life in the tundra can be, especially in the lakes and ponds. Basically, when a lake or pond freezes over, the ice blocks sunlight from getting to the water below.
Okay, so no sunlight. What happens then?
Well, without sunlight, photosynthesis stops. But the plants and animals in the water still need to breathe, right? So they keep using up oxygen. Eventually, the oxygen levels get really low,
Oh, yeah.
and you end up with a lot of dead fish. It's not pretty.
Yikes, that sounds rough. It's a good reminder that the tundra is really vulnerable, especially with climate change happening.
Exactly. The tundra's a delicate ecosystem, perfectly balanced for its extreme conditions. And as the climate changes, the tundra is feeling the heat, literally.
That's a sobering thought. It makes you realize that what happens in the tundra doesn't stay in the tundra.
You got it. The tundra might seem far away and isolated, but it's connected to the health of our entire planet. What happens there affects us all.
Yeah, the tundra is a fragile place, and it plays a huge role in keeping our planet healthy.
That's right. It's a great reminder that even though it might seem isolated, what happens there impacts everyone. I'm curious to learn more about that, about the tundra's role in the big picture of global climate regulation. What makes it so important?
One of the most critical things about the tundra is that it acts like a giant carbon sink. Remember that permafrost we were talking about? Well, it's basically storing tons and tons of carbon.
Okay, so all this carbon is frozen underground. Just how much are we talking about here? It's estimated that permafrost holds twice as much carbon as the entire Earth's atmosphere. It's a mind-boggling amount.
Wow, that's a lot of carbon. And it's safe as long as it stays frozen, right?
Exactly. But here's the problem. As temperatures rise because of climate change, that permafrost starts to thaw. And as it thaws, it releases all that stored carbon into the atmosphere.
Oh no, so it's like a ticking time bomb.
Kind of. And to make things worse, most of that carbon is released as methane, which is a greenhouse gas that's even more potent than carbon dioxide.
So not only is the melting ice contributing to rising sea levels, but it's also releasing all this extra greenhouse gas.
Right. That's why the tundra is often called a canary in the coal mine for climate change. What's happening there is a warning sign for what we can expect to see happening globally in the coming years.
It's a pretty scary thought, but it also highlights just how important it is to protect the tundra.
Absolutely. And it's not just about climate regulation. The tundra is also incredibly biodiverse. There's a huge variety of plants and animals that have adapted to live in those harsh conditions.
You know, it's easy to picture the tundra as just a big, empty wasteland,
Yeah.
but it's amazing to think that it supports so much life.
It really does. And it's not just about individual species. It's about the whole interconnected web of life that makes up the tundra ecosystem, from the tiniest lichens clinging to rocks to those majestic caribou migrating across the frozen plains. Every single piece matters.
It sounds like a delicate balance, one that climate change is disrupting. What kind of impacts are we already seeing?
As temperatures warm and the permafrost thaws, it's changing the whole landscape, and that affects everything. How plants grow, how animals migrate, and the availability of all the resources they need to survive. It's like the whole system is being thrown out of whack, and we're only just beginning to understand what the long-term consequences will be.
It's fascinating and terrifying at the same time.
It really is. There's still so much we don't know, but one thing's for sure. The fate of the tundra is connected to our own. What happens in this remote and often overlooked region will have ripple effects across the globe.
It's a reminder that we're all connected and that our actions have consequences even in the most distant corners of the planet. So what can we do to help protect the tundra? What actions can we take to minimize the impact of climate change on this vital ecosystem?
That's the million-dollar question. First and foremost, we need to address the root of the problem: climate change. That means reducing our carbon footprint, supporting policies that encourage renewable energy, and just generally promoting sustainable practices in everything we do.
So it's not just about individual actions, it's also about collective effort and systemic change.
Exactly. We need to work together to create a more sustainable future, and that includes protecting the tundra. It's so important for our planet's climate system, for biodiversity, and as a source of incredible scientific knowledge.
Speaking of interconnectedness, the source material also talks about the tundra's significance for global cooperation. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so the tundra, particularly the Antarctic tundra, provides a unique platform for international collaboration. The Antarctic Treaty, for example, designates the entire continent as a peaceful zone for scientific research.
Wow.
It's a really amazing example of how countries can come together and work towards a common good. It shows how much we can achieve when we prioritize scientific discovery and environmental protection.
It's inspiring to see that kind of cooperation happening on a global scale.
Yeah.
Despite all the challenges facing the tundra, it gives me hope that we can work together to create a more sustainable future.
Me too. The tundra really embodies both the fragility and the resilience of our planet. By studying it, protecting it, and learning from it, we can gain a deeper understanding of climate change, biodiversity, and the incredible power of international cooperation.
This deep dive has been so insightful. We've covered a lot of ground, but I'm curious to learn more about the tundra's role in scientific research. What kind of studies are being done in this extreme environment?
The tundra is a living laboratory for scientists all over the world. Its pristine environment and unique conditions offer a wealth of information about a wide range of topics, everything from climate change and glaciology to biodiversity and even astrobiology.
Astrobiology. In the tundra. Tell me more.
I know, right? It might sound surprising, but the extreme conditions in some parts of the tundra, particularly the dry valleys of Antarctica, are remarkably similar to environments found on other planets, like Mars. So, by studying life in these extreme places on Earth, scientists can gain valuable insights into the potential for life on other worlds.
That's incredible. So the tundra is not only a window into our planet's past, present, and future, but also potentially a window into the possibility of life beyond Earth.
Exactly. It really underscores why we need to protect these unique ecosystems, not just for their own sake, but for the incredible knowledge and discoveries they hold. Discoveries that could have implications far beyond our own planet.
It's amazing to think how everything is connected. What we do here on Earth can impact not only our planet, but maybe even the search for life beyond our world.
It's a humbling thought, and it's something the tundra reminds us of every single day. We're all part of something so much bigger than ourselves, and there's always more to learn and discover.
Well, this deep dive has definitely given us a lot to think about. We've explored the tundra's extreme conditions, the amazing ways that life has adapted to survive there, and its crucial role in climate regulation, biodiversity, and even the search for extraterrestrial life.
It's been a fascinating journey, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. But before we wrap up, I want to circle back to something you said earlier about the tundra being a canary in the coal mine for climate change. What does the future hold for this fragile ecosystem, and what can we learn from the changes that are happening there right now?
That's the big question, isn't it? The tundra is on the front lines of climate change. It's experiencing the impacts more quickly and dramatically than almost anywhere else on Earth. As temperatures continue to rise and the permafrost thaws, we can expect even more significant changes to the landscape, the plants and animals that live there, and how the whole ecosystem functions.
So it's a race against time to understand these changes and try to minimize the damage.
Exactly. Scientists are working hard to monitor the tundra, studying everything from how quickly the permafrost is thawing and how much carbon is being released to how wildlife populations are being affected and how migration patterns are changing. The more we understand about how the tundra is responding to climate change, the better prepared we'll be to develop strategies to protect it.
It sounds like there's a lot of work to be done, but also a lot of hope for the future.
I agree. The challenges are huge, but so are the opportunities for discovery and innovation. By working together, across disciplines and across borders, we can develop the knowledge and tools we need to protect this vital ecosystem and lessen the global impact of climate change.
It's a powerful message of hope and responsibility, and one that I think our listeners will connect with, whether they're aspiring UPSC candidates, students learning about the environment, or just people who care about the future of our planet.
I couldn't agree more. The tundra might seem like a faraway and desolate place, but its fate is tied to our own.
It really is incredible how much we're learning about the tundra, about its unique features. the amazing adaptations of its inhabitants, and its importance in regulating the global climate, protecting biodiversity, and even pushing the boundaries of scientific exploration.
Yeah, it's been a pretty mind-blowing journey.
As we wrap up today's deep dive, I want to shift our focus a bit and talk about the future. What can we do, both as individuals and as a global community, to protect this remarkable ecosystem for generations to come?
That's the question, isn't it? I mean, we've talked about the unprecedented challenges the tundra is facing because of climate change, but I don't want to leave everyone feeling hopeless.
Right. So what can we do? What actions can we take, big or small, that can make a real difference?
Well, the first and most important thing is reducing our carbon footprint. That sounds pretty basic, I know, but it really is crucial. It means being mindful of our energy consumption, thinking about how we get around, and being more conscious consumers. Every little bit helps.
It sounds like it's going to take a combination of individual actions and larger-scale collective efforts.
Absolutely. We need to be advocating for policies that prioritize environmental protection, supporting research and innovation that can help us mitigate climate change, and, most importantly, working together on a global scale to tackle this challenge. What happens to the tundra isn't just a regional issue, it affects us all.
It's a powerful reminder that we're all connected, and that the choices we make, no matter where we live, have far-reaching consequences.
Exactly. By understanding the tundra and the threats it's facing, we can become more informed and engaged citizens, making better choices for ourselves, for the tundra, and for the health of our planet as a whole.
This deep dive has truly been an eye-opening experience. We've gained a new appreciation for the tundra's beauty, its resilience, and its vital importance to the planet. And I think we've also gained a sense of hope.
I hope so.
Despite the challenges, there's still a chance to make a difference.
I agree.
A huge thank you to our expert for taking us on this incredible journey through the tundra.
It's been a pleasure being here.
And to all our listeners, thank you for joining us for the deep dive. Don't forget to like this episode, subscribe to our channel, and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on future deep dives. Until then, keep exploring, keep learning, and never stop asking questions.